Come here. Suspense is building, so I can't stop reading. Timmy, say hi.
Hi.
Say what's up.
What's up?
Say what's up.
What's up?
Say what's up.
What's up?
Yeah, good. So today we'll do 62 to 72. So another, just a short little chapter. When Trent stepped into the limousine, immersing himself in the sudden flood of air conditioning, he was surprised to find a young woman seated inside. "My name is Sarah Downs, and I'm with the district attorney's office in Wickburg," she announced. "Lieutenant Braxton asked me to ride down to Monument with you and provide you with background information." "That was kind of Braxton," Trent said, disguising his dismay and his irritation. He didn't enjoy surprises, either in his private life or in his interrogations. He had anticipated a long, quiet ride, alone with his thoughts, reviewing the procedures that lay ahead. Yet, he supposed a personal briefing now would save time later, and time was always a factor with interrogations. "Your reputation precedes you," Sarah Downs said. "I've read your transcripts and listened to your tapes. They've helped my own interrogations." She hesitated, as if she wanted to say more, then decided not to. "Thank you," Trent said, settling back as the limo moved smoothly forward, the tinted windows sealing them off from the rest of the world. The driver was a dark shadow at the wheel behind a glass partition. "Braxton said to tell you that they're all set to carry out the scenario. The suspect is being taken to police headquarters along with 4 other neighborhood boys, under the pretext, of course, that they're helping the investigation. The suspect will be isolated for you. All of this timed with your arrival. You see, the whole thing's a setup. This is really bad." Something in her voice, a tone and inflection that he could not immediately pin down, caused him to glance at her, devoid of makeup except for a faint pink lipstick, wearing a gray career suit, white blouse. Everything about her understated and elegant. 30 years old, give or take a year or two, attractive in a subdued, unflamboyant way. Uh-oh. Trent felt old beside her, her freshness and crispness in contrast to his own. What? Not only age, although he was maybe 10 or 15 years older, all the confessions, all those terrible acts he had listened to that had somehow become a part of him, that separated them more than the years. Entire worlds separated them. "Give me some background," Trent said. "You read the facts. Braxton is very thorough. I'd like to hear it from you. Tell me about the suspect. His name, as you know, is Jason Durant. He's 12 years old, shy and somewhat introverted. No previous arrests, but he attacked a classmate last year in the school cafeteria. Apparently unprovoked. He knew the victim, lived on the same street, was one of the last people, if not the last, to see her alive. Braxton is convinced that he's the perpetrator." The tone of voice again, the hint of doubt. Trent's instincts were seldom wrong. That was why he had scored so many successes. And he allowed instincts to lead him now as he asked, "And you?" And she looked at him in surprise. "Who, me?" "Yes. Are you convinced the boy's the perpetrator?" What I think doesn't matter," she said. "Yes, it does," Trent replied. "Everything matters. And I have to know everything that's possible to know before I proceed." She shrugged. "All right. I admit that I'm somewhat doubtful. There's absolutely no physical evidence, nothing to link the boy to the crime scene. And I wonder whether Braxton is yielding to pressure. The town, the senator, and acting too quickly. Any other suspects?" "Not really. Family members are always questioned, of course, but the father, mother, and brother all can account for their time and movements. Father at the office, mother shopping with a friend. The brother, a boy named Brad, 13 years old, was with 2 friends the entire afternoon. No other leads. That leaves us with Jason Durant. A wisp of hair had loosened, falling across her forehead. She swept it back. I'm uneasy about the situation, about this boy, Jason. You're overlooking one thing, Mrs. Downs. What's that? The interrogation. Her face tightened, her cheeks becoming taut. Don't you think the interrogation will bring out the truth? Trent asked. She sighed, turning him. Well, it should. Then that shrug again. But what? As if she had made a sudden decision, she turned and looked at him directly. You're in the business of obtaining confessions, she said. That's why you're being brought in. That's what bothers me. Don't you think I'm also looking for the truth? He asked. That the truth comes out of the interrogation? Not always, she said. The Blake case and Abbott, both confessions recanted. But upheld by the courts, he countered. It's hard to deny what's on the record, the spoken word. And now Trent knew what disturbed him about Sarah Downs. Beyond her doubts about his interrogations, somehow she reminded him of Lottie, not on the surface. Sarah Downs was cool and poised and elegant. Lottie had been disorganized, often in disarray, particularly after a few margaritas with her friends. Don't drink. She had also been warm and affectionate toward everyone, from stray kittens to old men on park benches. But the skepticism, the doubt in Sarah Downs' voice and manner echoed Lottie and the last sad conversation with her the night before she died. I don't know you anymore, Lottie had said. Who are you, anyway? Because she had obviously been drinking, Trent answered lightly. What you see is what you get. I'm not sure what I see, Lottie retorted. Alert, suddenly, eyes flashing, voice crisp and flat. Taken aback by the lightning change in her manner, Trent thought of his days and nights away from home, time spent at the department, on the road for interrogations, the endless pursuit of the right answers. He saw how much he had neglected her, having assumed that she was content with her volunteer work at the animal shelter, her afternoon drinks with friends, the books in which she immersed herself. But wait, she said. I do know who you are. Voice rising as if she'd made a startling discovery. You're an interrogator. That's what you do. And you are what you do. You are what you do. Like an accusation. That had been their last conversation. She'd been asleep when he went to bed after studying his notes for the Lane case and still sleeping soundly when he left for headquarters early the next morning. By nightfall, he stood beside her hospital bed in a hopeless vigil. She had been the victim of a freak accident, a minor collision of automobiles in which the airbag and seatbelt conspired to cause her death. Trapped by safety devices suddenly turned lethal. Lottie died during the night, without regaining consciousness. Thus began the period of mourning from that day to this. 18 months later, mourning the lost years ahead they might have shared in the past years that had been wasted. You are what you do, her final indictment of him. He shook off these thoughts, bringing himself gratefully back to the limo, the landscape passing muted and surrealistic outside the tinted window. Sarah Downs, sitting beside him, legs crossed now, one foot in the sensible, low-heeled shoe swinging back and forth. Body language, at which Trent had made himself adept for his interrogations. The small clues of movement, the use of hands and feet, the body tense or relaxed, leaning forward or drawing away, the attitude of the chin and the trembling of the eyelids, all the telltale signs. What clues did Sarah Downs now supply? That swinging foot, her folded arms guarding her chest, the small beat of the pulse in her temple. Tell me about the victim, Trent said. The child. Alicia Bartlett, 7 years old, she said, sighing, precocious. But a nice little girl, polite and well-bred, excellent grades in school, utterly feminine. Loved her American Girl doll, Amanda. Hobby, jigsaw puzzles, even in this day of computer games. She and Jason Durant worked at a puzzle during the last visit. Trent conjured up pictures of 12-year-old Jason Durant with 7-year-old Alicia Bartlett, heads bent together as they worked over a jigsaw puzzle. They, too, were a puzzle to be solved. Sarah Downs' swinging foot now stopped. Pete Haichu. Trent waited. Finally, she said, I wonder, then faltered, shifted her body, and fell silent. And what do you wonder, Mrs. Downs? His voice light but not playful, suspecting a revealing remark. First, you can call me Sarah, since we'll be working together. Trent withdrew a bit. He had admitted no one into his privacy and had avoided intimacy since Lottie's death. No first-name greetings, no first name given. He wanted to operate alone, travel light. He's a loner, a rebel. Yet he wanted somehow to convince this young woman that he was more than just an interrogator, not some sort of monster who neglected the human condition of his subjects and their victims. All right, Sarah, he said, conceding her name, but withholding his own. What do you wonder about? How can you stand it? All those confessions. I've often wondered how priests handle it, sitting in the dark, listening to all the sins, all the foul things that people do to each other. The foul things. I must lie down where all the ladders start, in the foul rag and bone shop of the heart. It's the name of the book. It's the darkness of the human heart, the depravity, the debased mind. The old poem, which had become a sort of credo through the years. He said the words aloud, but almost to himself, down where all the ladders start, in the foul rag and bone shop of the heart. Yeats, he said. Wow, W.B. Yeats, awesome poet. Gratified that she recognized the poem, he said, I admit that I have sleepless nights, or I wake up from dreams I can't remember except that terrible things happened in them. All of it, I suppose, from what I've heard in the interrogations. But you learn to live in isolation, and that's where the trouble lies. What was he admitting to this young woman that he had never admitted even to Lottie? The terrible thing is that the priest can give absolution, can forgive you, absolve the sinners, send them on their way with a clean heart. I can only listen and turn the confession into an indictment and go my own way, to another case, to another interrogation. And he nodded in agreement. And that's enough for you. You are what you do. Or should I be more than that? The limo swerved and he and Sarah Downs were almost thrown against each other. It was awkward. Shoulders touching, the faint scent of her cologne reaching him like a soft breeze in a leafy glade. The echo of an old song coming to his mind. Sorry, came the word from the speaker connected to the driver. A dog in the road. Sarah Downs drew away, a wan smile on her face. I guess I've envied you for a long time, she said. Wanted to be as expert, as efficient. Her voice trailed off. But now you're not sure, he suggested. She turned her eyes on him and said nothing. What did he see in those deep gray eyes? Pity, perhaps, or revulsion. And which was worse? and unaccountable sadness settled on him, along with the familiar exhaustion that he wore like an old suit as the limo continued on its way to Monument. It's time that Trent takes another swing at the bat. What do you think? And the title of the book comes from Yeats, an amazing Irish poet. Come away, O human child, to the waters and the wild, with a fairy hand in hand, because the world is more full of weeping than you can understand. W.B. Yeats, amazing poet. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'm getting into the book now. It's getting more suspenseful. I like reading it now. I'm getting it. So good. Good job, guys. Stay tuned until the next chapter without any heading.